Welcome everybody to Games Cast by PanderNyrl. If you wish to see more commented games, please follow my YouTube and Twitch pages below. Welcome everyone to this featured game. In the mid lane we do see an Ahri, an Elise up top, a Ezreal Leona down bottom, and a Nautilus in the jungle for the blue team. On the red side we have a Syndra in the middle, a Lux Graves down bottom, a Warwick in the jungle, and a Nidalee up top. Kind of curious to see how this Lux Graves goes. It's a pretty nice combination, as Lux can bind someone, then Graves immediately jumps in and obliterates them with that buckshot collateral damage combo. And I'm also curious to see about Warwick, because I've not seen a Warwick since the patch, though I've heard he's pretty good, especially if he picks up that tier of the goddess and goes for the Manamura build. But we shall see. Nautilus also is another champion I've not seen very much of since the patch, as he seems to be fairly good, and he got a few small buffs on his shield, make it so he can actually take some damage. Looks like the game is coming up here at about the 240 mark. The score is 1-0 in favor of the blue team. Looks like Syndra and Ahri are duking it out, but Ahri will go down here, as he just did not have the health to survive that engagement. Nice move by Syndra, really forcing the issue. Looks like Nidalee and Elise are duking out up top. Nidalee is going to have a bit of advantage on Elise once she hits 6, as the Cougar form is stronger than that Spider form, but that Spider form is really deadly early on. Score is 1-1, and the goal is perfectly even this moment. But the big problem here is Nautilus has to hold mid, and Nautilus is not going to be able to hold mid very safely, especially as he had to start red buff instead of going for the early blue. And it looks like Warwick is doing a full clear up top, and I'm kind of surprised Lux has not landed a good binding down bottom yet, as I expect them to basically try to do that every single chance you can get. Or either Leona coming in and trying something. They're both very aggressive lanes. And I do believe Ezreal outscales Graves slightly, but it looks like Leona does come in. Nice block by Lux. But Lux will be taken down here by the Mystic Shot of Ezreal, finishing him off from a big distance. And that's the power of Leona. Leona is such an amazing support champion. She does incredible damage and very strong. Initiation, looks like Nautilus up top is going to get some big damage on this. Nidalee will flash out at the last second. And all that effort for naught, as Nidalee's flash was perfectly timed there. They burned almost everything. There was an exhaust still up on Elise, but the exhaust, whoop-de-doo. That's not going to keep her back when she can just flash away. Looks like Leona does jump on the Graves here. Graves does take a fair bit of damage, but he does lay a nice buckshot out. Ezreal does come in and hits a big damage on Graves. That'll force Graves back, and that is not a good position. You're already down 10 CS, and you're forced back. But it looks like he's going to stay there. Warwick does come in the middle, putting on some good damage on this Ahri. But Ahri will get away, as she is just slightly faster. She has picked up boots while Warwick has not. Looks like Leona jumps in on Lux. And Graves does get exhausted. Ezreal does finish off both of them down bottom. Will he let that Mystic Shot? Yes, he does. Double kill for Ezreal. And this Ezreal is going to snowball out of control at this point, unless Warwick does something. And Warwick is not the best ganker until level 6 or so. So it is going to be hard for him to get down here. And the biggest thing is he'll have to remember to turn off his second passive, which allows him to see low health targets, or he will be spotted, as they are fairly low at the moment. Looks like for items we do see a Doran's Blade picked up on Graves. Lux with the early Philosopher's Stone. Syndra picking up the Doran's Ring and Amplifying Tome. Likely going for that super penetration build. Leona's picked up the Philosopher's Stone. Ezreal just with the longsword at the moment, and likely to buy something out of that, as he's just back to base. Nautilus with just the machete. Looks like he's just rushing the Bloodthirster. Elise has gone for the flask and wards. I really do like that opening. Nidalee going for an ability power build, seeing as she has picked up that Doran's Ring. And hopefully Nidalee can really land some spears. Nidalee spears are so fun to watch. They're a terror to play against, but they are fun to watch. Nidalee does get stunned up by Elise here. Nautilus with a nice hook. And stun combo. Will Nidalee go down? Yes, she will. I don't see any way of her getting out of this unless they really just don't want to tower dive. But they do. And Elise does take a fair bit of damage from the minions and tower. Syndra is up top, and she will come in there and finish off Elise. Will she be able to get Nautilus as well? I don't think so. Nautilus is just a little too tanky at this point, and I don't think she wants to tower dive. But Nautilus does put his shield up, and it does prevent the damage from that Ignite, keeping him nice and safe. So nice use of the hook on Nautilus, pulling Syndra right back into tower range so that she has to go back to base. Lux has wisely moved up into the mid lane, grabbing the CS and experience, so it is not wasted. Graves down bottom was not going to have a very fun time either way. Syndra coming up here, but Nautilus is just out of range, though. Nautilus does pull Syndra back, and Syndra is in deep trouble here. She just ran out of mana. Nice move by Nautilus, recognizing how much mana she had and going back in there for the fight. Because if you're Syndra, you can't stay there when you have that little mana. Graves dashes away and does a fair bit of damage on return, but takes a ton of damage. He is not able to stay in this lane. And honestly, I'd pick up a flask if I were Graves, because he is going to need it just to even stay alive in this lane. As Ezreal's gone for the flask as well, in addition to almost finishing off that BF sword. Nidalee gets stunned up by Elise, and Elise chunks her down for a good bit of damage. And Elise is doing the smart thing and keeping Nidalee from hitting 6. As long as Nidalee is not 6, Nidalee is not that strong. Her level, once she hits level 6, she becomes an absolute monster, even as an ability power champion. Looks like both sides. Looks like Nidalee has thrown a ward in the river, and Elise will likely follow that in a moment. Elise going for the super penetration build, picking up the naked haunted guys.
Next time,
Graves has picked up a second Doran's blade. Looks like we will see a Madrid's razor picked up on Warwick. Kaga's lucky pick finished off on Lux, thanks to that good bit of mid lane CS. We have Nautilus going for the Spirit Stone and Sight Stone. Ahri with the Sorcerer's Shoes and Doran's Ring. Nidalee has hit 6, and Nautilus will not be able to gank her safely at this point, as she does have a little bit more speed and the ability to just pounce out of anything that really happens. Looks like Lux has moved on to the middle lane, and we'll be trying to just get a bit more farm. And that's all it comes down to at this point, is they're trying to maximize farm, as Graves has no chance of getting any down bottom unless it is pushed to his tower. So they said, hey Lux, go grab some farm as well. And it has helped, as they're almost keeping up with Ezreal, the exception of the fact Ezreal has 4 kills. Score is 6-2 with a 2,000 gold lead for the blue team, and the red team might start dragging here. Looks like Warwick jumps in onto Ezreal, but the ultimate will not do enough damage. The ultimate from Ezreal does come out, and Syndra is exhausted at the exact perfect time. Ezreal does take him out, missed by the Lux ultimate. Looks like Graves does get a kill. No, looks like Lux will pick it up, but trading 3 people for Lux is not a good idea. Will Lux get this kill onto Leona? Yes, Leona does go down, but that's not a terrible trade. 3 for 2. And it got the killing spree off of Ezreal, but Ezreal picked up 2 kills during that as well. That is not what you want to see, a 6-1-1 Ezreal with the highest CS in the game. But Nidalee up top is dueling with Elise, and wisely jumps away the second she gets hit by that exhaust. And it looks like Nidalee will be forced to stay at her tower. She is low on mana, and I don't think she's going to be able to do a whole lot at this point. Syndra has opted for the Chalice. Looks like Warwick's doing a fair bit of damage to Ahri here. And both of these top laners are pretty even. They're both split push champions, as Elise and Nidalee really do love to just split push all day long. And they're really good at it thanks to their alternate forms not costing mana, and the fact they do have multiple escapes. Looks like Nautilus is coming here on Syndra. Will Syndra actually land her ultimate? Her ultimate is not actually even up at this point. I don't know why she's trying to gauge like that. And Nautilus picks up another kill. Nautilus does miss poke onto Warwick in the middle, but not much coming because of it. Looks like Warwick will take some damage thanks to the Ahri charm, and Ahri gets a little bit lower. Warwick might have a chance to get in on her. But until Warwick gets that passive Bloodseeker, or I believe that's what it's called. I'll have to check. Blood Scent. Thinking the Dota champion. But as soon as he gets Blood Scent, he will have a chance to engage on champions like Ahri and some of the back line. But he really needs that second passive up to really fight these backline champions, or else he's going to be stuck trying to get past Nautilus and Leona, which is not an easy task. Up top, Nidalee's getting chunked down. Looks like Warwick has engaged here onto Ezreal, but the ult by Leona keeps Graves in check. And thanks to the entire team coming in, it is a 2-for-1 as Lux picks up the kill on Ezreal on the backside. And that is not looking good. Looks like Syndra up top is going to come in. And I'm not sure she's going to do enough damage. Her ultimate is up. Will she throw it out? Yes, she does. But it is not enough. Looks like Lux will be caught in the middle by this Nautilus. But Nidalee is taken down Nidalee does take down Elise up top. But it's still not going in favor of the red team. They are just down a little too much at this point. And especially this Graves, who's only sitting on 34 CS and being 0-4-3. He has just not had a chance to really get into this game. He just never got into it. He might try and come middle lane, duel Ahri, but that's not a very good fight for him, as he is only 7 at this point compared to the 8s, at least on everyone on the blue team. Looks like we're just going to go back to a little bit of passive farming, as none of the lanes are even in the area. Blue buff has respawned for the red team, and I do not think it's going to be counter jungled, as the blue team is not in place. We do see Graves getting absolutely zoned out here by Ezreal, who has completed his Bloodthirster at this point, and will likely go for either the Trinity Force or the Black Cleaver at this point. Syndra is going to grab up that blue buff. And I'm not sure what Syndra is going to be doing at this point. She might go down and try to get a kill bottom, but it will probably cost her her life. This Leona is pretty tanky and provides an amazing amount of disruption. Ahri is going for a Death Cap first build. Syndra going for that Anathane's Unholy Grail. Will Syndra actually land one of her stuns? No. Misses the stun and nothing much comes of it. Looks like Lux is trying to gank on Elise up top, as the Objects Tournament has been completed. And Elise just crushes Nidalee at this point in time. Big thanks to that exhaust. But it looks like Nidalee does get away. Looks like down bottom, Ezreal does take a ton of damage, but is not killed off. Nautilus does come in here and just misses his auto attack on Graves. Nice getting away, Warwick does ult in there onto Leona, and Leona will just barely live. Leona does get picked up by Warwick, and the ultimate from Ezreal comes out doing a ton of damage to that Syndra. And that's something they could really use, is a few kills here. But will they pay for it with their tower in the middle? Yes, they do, as Ahri does take it down, and that is a big win for the blue team, as that mid tower is extremely important. It is also the first tower of the game. And wise move by Ahri, just saying, hey, we don't need kills at the moment. We need towers and map objectives. Because if we can take out these outer towers, we can secure their jungle. We're an infinitely stronger team at this point. And there's just no real chance of them fighting back if we get into an engagement in the jungle. Looks like Nautilus has completed the Ruby Sightstone and his Boots of Mobility. Syndra has finished off the Anathane's Unholy Grail. Lux with a Shard of True Ice. Graves picking up the Vampiric Scepter. Warwick has completed his Wriggle's Lantern and Ninja Tabi. It looks like Nidalee is going for a Sheen next. Might be building that into the Lich Bane. Looks like Ahri is going to jump in here on Syndra, but Syndra will knock her back. Ahri popping another use of her ultimate and does jump in there. This will be a dead Syndra, but Lux just in time to try and make something happen. But they do not want to pursue, as Warwick just gets in there in time. Leona is getting a little ballsy, but she is fairly safe and tanky thanks to her Merc Tread, Sightstone, and Philosopher's Stone. Looks like Lux does take a bit of damage. And the ultimate comes out, and that means Ahri does go down thanks to Warwick ultimate at the back end. Leona is below 50% health thanks to that last auto attack, and Warwick will be getting that Bloodseeker out. Looks like Nidalee is sustaining herself well against Elise here, as Elise is sitting very low on health. And will Nidalee actually be able to get into her? Looks like she is going to do a fair bit of damage. But who will actually win in this fight? Nidalee has switched out of Cougar form. And when Nidalee's not in Cougar form, she's not going to be able to fight Elise properly. Elise is a strong counter to Nidalee, especially the ability power version, as Nidalee just can't do a whole lot, as Elise's spiderlings will prevent a lot of action from happening. Looks like Nidalee is getting protected by Warwick. Nice use of her flash there, as she does run down and misses the jump over the wall. That means she will be going down to Leona. If she had hit that jump over the wall, she likely would have escaped rather nicely. Bottom tower is taken down by Ezreal during all of this, and Ezreal should be able to carry this game pretty well. He's sitting at 6-2-3, having finished off the Phage and going for the Trinity Force build. Looks like Lux is still driving some farm up top, and that's not a bad idea for someone like Lux to roam around the map and pick up farm when other lanes forced to leave or gank. Nidalee has completed her Sheen and Sorcerer's Shoes at this point. Death Cap up on Ahri. And it looks like Syndra is in a bit of trouble here, as it is just very hard for Syndra to land her orbs when Ahri's rushing around like that. But both of them take a ton of damage and is forced back. Warwick is here with Nautilus, with Lux, and they will be hunting down Nautilus. I do think Nautilus will be able to get away. Question is, will he turn it around as Elise does come in? Lux with the ultimate does come across, and it is a 1-for-1 trade, but no. Nice use of the ultimate by Warwick, holding it to the very last moment, and it forces the Elise flash over the wall. But in the middle, Syndra does go down to Ahri. Looks like Warwick is going to continue to pursue. That Bloodseeker doing a ton of damage. And will Warwick be able to finish him? Nidalee Spear for the win. At the end of that fight. Beautifully played by Nidalee. Looks like Leona is going to try and do some damage up there, but I wouldn't want to go in on that either. Score is 16-11. In this action-packed game, it is still a nice 4,000 gold lead for the blue team, as we do see Nautilus finishing off his Spirit Stone of the Ancient Golem. Looks like Leona's picked up a Kindle Gem. I'm not sure exactly what she's going to turn that into, but we should see. Dragon has respawned, and it looks like the blue team will be going and grabbing that, as Warwick is up top, and they do see Nidalee up top as well. They might also try for a blue steal, and I do believe they're going to get it, as no one is really in the area. And it looks like Ahri will take that for herself. This is a free dragon for the blue team, as no one from the red side is in the area. This will extend the goal to about 5,000. And we do see Elise heading back up top. She will be able to apply some pressure to this Nidalee, but Nidalee is getting the best of her at this point, as she has landed 1 or 2 really nice spears, and if Nidalee can land spears, she has a big advantage. But the problem is, Elise's spiderlings block the spears. Ultimate going out into the middle of nowhere by Leona, likely hoping to try to capture Syndra, but Syndra was not returning. Nidalee still waiting in the bush, trying to throw out her spears, just trying to hit minions at this point. Looks like Warwick has completed that Glacial Shroud. Nidalee jumping in on Syndra, or onto Elise, and Elise will get the better of that exchange thanks to her long-range poke. But Nidalee does have that heal, which is incredibly powerful. Looks like Leona and Ahri are coming up top. Will they be able to get in range? No, the nice sword does spot him out. Leona does land, and they will decide to tower dive this. But Nidalee does do a ton of damage in return. And it looks like a nice stun by Syndra. Syndra will pick up Leona on the backside. And it looks like Ahri will go down as well, thanks to the red buff onto Warwick. And Warwick really doing his job this game, making kills happen, and the gold lead is down to 4,000 again. And will they actually try and go for this tower is the question. Nautilus is going to push up mid, and Ezreal is going to push out bottom, so they will have to send someone there to defend. And I'm not sure it's the best idea to go for that tower with 2 people, as no one's stopping this Ezreal at the moment. He is so far ahead, but Graves will be able to keep Nautilus in check and keep that middle tower going. Looks like Ezreal does jump down onto Lux, and Lux is taking a ton of damage, but she will be okay, thanks to that shield and the heal, and it means Lux does get safe, but thanks to the Nidalee Spear finishing him off. Beautiful bait there by Lux, knowing exactly how much damage she could take, and even baiting with the heal at the last moment. That shield from Lux is the most powerful shield in the game outside of a Shen ultimate or a Eve ultimate. Let's see, it looks like Nidalee Looks like Warwick is in a little bit of trouble here, but Nidalee does come in, landing a big spear onto Syndra. Or no, big spear onto Elise, and Syndra does get away. Looks like Graves is doing a ton of damage to this. Leona and the Ignite will finish off Leona. Looks like Syndra up top does finish off Elise. Lux with a big ultimate, putting some heavy damage in onto Ahri, and that is a 2-for-none exchange. And this will be the first or second tower for the red team, as the top tower was taken down that last engagement. Big spear by Nidalee misses, but the Lux binding does hit Ahri at the very end. That looked like it wasn't going to hit, and in the bonus range it does deal some damage. Looks like Ahri does throw out a nice spear, or Nidalee throws out a nice spear, and Ezreal does go down, but Nidalee pays for it. And that is a fairly decent trade, as any kill you can get on Ezreal at this point is worth it. That keeps him from farming, especially with a nice big wave up top. The red team has just now taken the kill lead, but even though they are down about 1,000 gold at this point, Lux doing a great job of hitting Nautilus there and pressuring him, but Nautilus does shield up the damage. Syndra up top doing a ton of damage to these minions, and is going to push out this lane. They might even try to go for a tower at this point. Nidalee has completed that Lich Bane. Looks like Kindle Gem up on Warwick. Bloodthirster finished on Graves. Morilanomicon up on Lux. Syndra has picked up a needlessly large rod. Trinity Force finished on Ezreal. Elise likely to go for that Abyssal Scepter next. Ahri finishing the Death Cap and Lorialus Crystal Scepter. Nautilus picking up the Ruby Sightstone and Crest of the Ancient Golem, finishing off a Kindle Gem as well. Leona with the Kindle Gem, double Cloth Armor, and Ruby Sightstone and Philosopher's Stone. We are sitting at the 23 minutes, and thanks to several poor engagements by the blue team, the red is very close in terms of farm. It's only 2,000 gold at this point, and that's not a whole lot considering they had a 6,000 gold lead 3 or 4 minutes ago. They've really cut down this gap, mostly due to just a few poor dives and poor engagements. Looks like Nautilus might be caught out by Warwick, but I don't think Nautilus and Warwick is a fight that either one of them really wants. Looks like Lux is going to throw out her binding. Ahri does jump in, but the entire red team is here, as Ezreal is not here. Warwick does do a good job of tanking up all that damage, but he will go down here, giving that big killing spree over to Leona. Leona does jump in. Nautilus pops off the ultimate, and everyone from the red team is retreating as Ezreal does come in. Looks like the Nidalee Spear does miss on the backside, and it is a 1-for-1, but not a good trade, as they do lose their big Warwick, who's on a killing spree. Nidalee does get taken down as well in the back end by Elise. Nautilus flashing in there, landing his root onto Graves, but everyone from that team is low, and the Lux binding does hit 2 spiders on the way out, making that a very good trade for the blue team, as they actually picked up a kill lead, or evened out the kills again. Looks like Lux does land her binding, but is not in range to finish it off, as the health potion from Elise does save her right there. Ezreal at this point is going to go take down this mid tower, as there is no one who's going to be able to 1v1 him at this point. Lux is coming in here trying to do something, but here comes Warwick. Will she land the binding? Yes, she does land the binding, and here is Warwick. Cleanse popped a little too soon, but Warwick is going to be able to get on him again thanks to that passive and a little bit of slow by Lux. But will Ahri get here in time to save him? Yes, he will, but Warwick will get the kill off first. I thought that charm would have charmed him before he finished the kill, but apparently not. Lux with the ultimate across the middle, and it is back to a 3,000 gold lead, stunned by Syndra, but Ahri will be just barely safe off of that, thanks to that use of her flask. Looks like Syndra trying to land a stun. Nidalee off to the side, throwing out spears, but they are not hitting anything important. And this is not a fight I think either team really wants to take. Looks like Syndra does throw out another sphere, but the stun does not land. And it's going to be back to farming for both sides. I don't think either side wants to take an engagement. Blue side's had several really bad engagements over the last few moments. And it looks like Syndra does come in the middle. Leona missing. And same thing with Elise, as they miss both of their initiation abilities. And it looks like the red team does want to fight this, as they do see Ahri up top. And if they can fight a 4v5 without Ahri being there, that is a big win. Try to true ice up onto Warwick, but not much happening because of it. Looks like Nautilus does pull in Syndra, but both sides back away. Ultimate by Warwick does come across. Ultimate by Leona, doing big damage there. Looks like Syndra does flash over the Dragon Pit, and she will be fairly safe, as both teams really just need to back up at this point. Ahri will be taking down another tower up top. Ultimate by Lux does go out, and everyone on both sides is fairly low, so there is not going to be any real follow-up. Looks like the Warwick passive does pop up. We will be seeing Warwick going back in. Is Warwick's ultimate up? No, it's still halfway down, but Warwick is really tanky at this point. Ultimate by Graves does go out, but nothing much happening. The last hit of Buckshot does finish off Elise. Looks like the Light Binding does hit Nautilus, and Nautilus will be going down, making that a double kill for Graves. And they should be able to push another tower, but the problem is Ahri is pushing towers up top. Lux is going back to stop him, and I do like that choice, as Lux should be able to just hold her back, and she does push Minuas extremely fast with that ultimate. Warwick jumping in onto Leona there. Leona does go back, but Leona will pick up that kill, as Ezreal does almost pick up Syndra there. Syndra's still fighting there, and the ultimate does go out, and it will be a double kill for Ezreal. Just having exactly enough life. Triple kill for Ezreal on the back end. Lux does go down to Ahri, and that's a big swing of gold, as it is now a 6,000 gold lead, where it was a 3,000 gold lead before that fight. And you gave Ezreal 3 kills and really built them up some momentum. Big thing is they didn't get Ahri, who was split pushing up top the entire time, and they won a 5v4 where they were down the player. That is just a big mistake. And they could have backed off after picking up those 2 kills, and it wouldn't have been that bad. Looks like Nidalee's Spear does come out and chunk Ezreal down for about half of his health, but he's just going to heal that back up with his Bloodthirster. Another Spear comes out, and it just hits a minion at this point. Looks like Graves is going to come in here and try and pursue Ezreal. Will Ezreal be able to kill Graves before anything happens? He might be able to get the kill, yes, but Nidalee will get the counter kill on Ezreal. And that is almost worth it, as you do get the shutdown and the bonus assist for a shutdown, which is almost worth a kill at this point, because a 500 gold shutdown with a 50% assist is an additional 250 gold. Looks like up top Syndra is trying to get onto Ahri, but Ahri will just back away. And at this point, Ahri has done her job of split pushing and taking some fights. Another dragon will go the way of the blue team, as the kill score is even, but gold is definitely not. And the big problem here is where the gold is. Look at that Ezreal, 12,000 gold. Ahri, 11,000 gold. And those are your big carries, and those are your carries with all the gold. Well, on the red team, we see it really spread around with the support Lux in the lead just slightly, with Syndra right behind that, and Graves at the very bottom of the totem pole in terms of gold. Their gold is not where they wanted at this point. Lux has completed a death cap, though. Rather interesting choice, considering she was a support, but she's not feeling like a support this game. She's done a whole lot for her team, and is really almost carrying them along with Warwick. Warwick has completed a Kindle Gem and a Phage, in addition to that Wriggle's Lantern and Glacial Shroud. We do see Ahri picking up the Void Staff. Locket of the Iron Solari up onto Nautilus, who will likely be going for that Aegis of the Legion next. Leona has completed a Shirley's Reverie and Randall's Omen. Looks like Ezreal's taking a fair bit of damage. Warwick decides to jump over the wall, but will not be able to get the kill, as the Nidalee Spear is just out of range. Ahri does jump in here and do a fair bit of damage to Lux and Nidalee, but she will be going down for it. And it looks like Warwick does back away at the last second. Will he be okay? Yes, he is, thanks to the shield and heal by Lux. And this Lux is doing a fair good job. No double binding up onto Leona, but the Nidalee Spear and Orb from Syndra means that Ezreal goes down, and that is a 2-for-none fight. And this does mean they can easily push a tower, or possibly even try for Baron at this point, as both Nautilus and Leona are not in fighting condition. And Warwick can easily just lifesteal his way to victory on the Baron buff. I really expect them to go for that after picking up this tower. But they might not feel confident at going at it. Looks like Syndra does decide to pull one of her orbs around, and will be trying to get something going, but not much, as they wisely just go for the tower. Take the free tower, back up, heal. Several of your characters are fairly weak and low on mana. And yeah, they need to ward. The red team does need to ward Baron at this point. But they did get the kill lead back after picking up those 2 kills. They do actually have a ward at the back of Baron. Lux is going to go push out top lane. Bottom lane's pushing fairly heavily, but that tower should be fairly safe. I do believe it is in a good spot at the moment. No, it's not, but I do think it's going to go down. I thought it had more health thanks to Ezreal lane being so strong. But it looks like the blue team will be trying for Baron. But thanks to that nice binding by Lux, Baron does a ton of damage to this Ahri, and they aren't going to want to fight this. Looks like Syndra does a good bit of damage to Ezreal, and Ezreal will go down. Meaning this is not the fight blue team wants to take. Ezreal is their strongest character by far at this point in the game, but he keeps getting caught out by people like Syndra. And Syndra's job is almost a ranged assassin at this point. She does an incredible amount of single target damage and kind of small amount of sustained area damage. And the big thing is once her ultimate goes off, someone's going to die. She does finish the death cap and the Anaphane's Unholy Grail. It looks like the red team is just going to push for an inhibitor at this point, as Syndra is not in position to fight. Binding goes out and does hit Nautilus, but Nautilus' shield does keep him safe at this point. Looks like another spear lands on Leona, and Leona is not in fighting condition, sitting at just above half health at this point. Looks like Ahri is forced to go back and will be waiting for their next item. I'm not sure what she's going to go with next. Looks like Warwick's just going to stand out front and soak all the damage he can, as he is pretty tanky at this point. Looks like everyone is going to go back, but they didn't take advantage of the fact that Ezreal was down. They could have easily pushed that bottom tower, and I think that would have been the wise move, as getting a free tower at this point is a lot of gold. Looks like Leona is in very bad shape and should not be fighting, as another spear comes out from Nidalee. And Nidalee's doing a great job of throwing those spears out and really stopping the blue team from engaging. Leona taken down to almost 0 health there. As the Lux ultimate does miss, Ezreal has picked up a Guardian Angel. And it looks like they will be starting on Baron, excuse me, as Lux does throw the nice spear in there. Spear will give them vision of it, and it does root Nautilus in the pit, meaning that Warwick has engaged. Shard of True Ice popped on Warwick, and Warwick will be going down. But he does keep everyone low and prevents them from doing Baron, which is the big thing. Stun comes out onto Ahri as she does get low from those Nidalee spears. And the blue team is just forced to back up. They are way too low at this point. Will the spear land? Yes, it does land and finishes off Ahri. Beautiful use of the spear there by Nidalee. And that's one thing that's a real terror. If you can't finish a fight and you're kind of playing around, Nidalee spears will make sure you don't have a happy day. Now the Nidalee spear up onto Ezreal as she does jump in on him. Ultimate by Lux goes out, but Ezreal, it does flash it away. Nidalee will throw a spear out, but it does not hit. Nidalee is out of mana at this point, so she will have to go back to base. But that is a winning fight, as you do pick up Ahri, who was on a small spree, in exchange for Warwick, and prevent them from doing a Baron. And it also buys time for Graves to come back in this game. Ezreal is almost capped out on items, as he will likely... I'm not sure what he's going to go with after he sells that flask, but I'm sure it will be very useful. Nautilus throwing out pink wards everywhere. Looks like Syndra will be trying to get this blue buff. We will see Elise picking up the Abyssal Scepter and going for the Lorialus Crystal Scepter next. Ahri picking up a needlessly large rod after those few items she had before. Looks like another spear comes up in Nidalee, but it does not hit. Nidalee really could use some additional mana at this point. Looks like Elise does step on that trap, and the red team will know where they are. Syndra can't go bottom at this point, as she is needed to be there for her team. Looks like both sides are just going to poke around, but Elise is getting the better of the poke thanks to the more reliable spiders. Ezreal does take a fair bit of damage from the Nidalee trap, and Nidalee is backing up. Binding comes out there, and the Wraith is taken by Ezreal. Nautilus takes another spear to the face, and he is getting lower and lower on health. Looks like Nidalee's spear does come out, and boom! Spear into Ezreal. That's the Guardian Angel gone. Nice use of the Warwick ultimate, comboed by the Nidalee spears. And Nidalee spear does land onto Ahri, taking her down to half health. Looks like Warwick is just going to go in this fight and try and kill Ezreal. He does not get Ezreal at this point, but the spear comes out. Will Graves pop his ultimate? It is down. It looks like Ahri just barely lives, but the spear misses onto Nidalee. Looks like Syndra does pop a Deathfire Grasp, and it does a fair bit of damage, but just not enough at this point. Spear does come out and misses. And that is a 1-for-1 exchange. Both junglers going down, but the red team is infinitely healthier at this point, thanks to those spears really getting Ezreal down, and Ezreal is down a Guardian Angel at this point. That's the big problem, as he really needs that to stay in this fight, because that, as we saw right there, Warwick ultimate caught him out right onto a max range Nidalee spear, and he went down and lost that Guardian Angel before the fight started, had to burn Flash, in addition to his Essence Shift. Looks like Syndra is going to come in here, and will be killing off this Leona, but not dying herself. That's a good trade at this point, as they loses a valuable initiation tool for these fights. Looks like Syndra is just going to go grab this blue Wraith, and things will go back to a reset state. If I'm the blue team, I'd really just want to say, hey, Ezreal and Ahri, sit behind Leona. Don't move from Leona. Leona, play Spear Bodyguard, and basically sacrifice yourself for them, because they have not gotten a whole lot going for them, as those spears from Nidalee have really kept the team in this game. 3 death caps completed on the blue side. Looks like Ezreal is going for some magic resistance next. I definitely like that choice. Likely a Quicksilver Sash to prevent Warwick from just jumping in on him like that. And yeah, that's really what the fight came down to, is Ezreal never really got to do anything. And he hasn't done anything in these last few fights, as every single time when Nidalee spear hits him out, or a Lux combo chunks him down to half health, so he's forced to kind of play defensive the entire time. And it's really hurt them, considering how much farm he has and how much of a good start he's had. Looks like Warwick might be caught out here, but a Nidalee spear does go down. Warwick jumping in onto Ezreal, and he will do a good job of staying alive. Shard of Two Eyes popped on him, but the ultimate by Nautilus does keep him very low, and he is finished off by the Elise. Looks like Syndra is in trouble as well, as this will be an ace, with the exception of Lux, thanks to just Warwick getting caught out, though they do lose 2 people for it, and this does mean an inhibitor will go down. And that's just how even these teams are, despite a massive gold lead for the blue team. It is 4,000 gold at this point, and it was a little higher. Nice ultimate comes out by Lux, and Lux will not be able to protect the inhibitor, I don't believe. But she might be able to pick up a kill on the backside of it, though nice job by Leona of just zoning her out at this point. And they will be forced back, but that is an inhibitor, and a very important mid inhibitor. Though mid inhibitor is actually the weakest of the inhibitors, and least important of the inhibitors, because you can't actually kill the base towers with it down, as both of the towers will hit the minions coming in from the middle, but if you kill top or bottom, they will not actually hit the super minions. In addition to that, if you kill bottom tower, which is the most important, as it is the farthest away from Baron, bottom inhibitor is just so painfully annoying, as you have to send someone all the way across the map, and you can't really protect yourself from Baron. In top tower, if you take that, you can easily siege up the bottom lane and force someone to run all the way across their base just to keep it clear and engage a 4v5. But middle lane, it's not far enough that you really have to worry. You can even have someone like Nidalee pull minions over, and it just isn't the best one to pick up first. Looks like Syndra is going to be picked up in the middle lane, as the ultimate is blown and she does take it out, but she does do a fair bit of damage to Ezreal before the fight starts. But you can't lose your AP carry like that. She just was caught out a little too far without wards. Looks like Nidalee is next, but it does dodge thanks to a nice pounce at the very last second. This will likely be Baron for the blue team, should they want to go take it. And I do think they are going to, or at least bait it out. Looks like Ahri has come in here, and a nice spear by Nidalee really chunks down Ahri. Ahri is low, and the ultimate by Lux does miss. But that means that Warwick does go down for basically free. Graves going down for free as well, but the spear from Nidalee finishes off Ahri, making that a 3-for-1 exchange. And the blue team might just barrel up and try and finish it. Lux is pulled in, but she does pop that Zhonya's Hourglass and do a little bit of damage before finally going out. Nidalee is the only one alive, and super minions are going to be pushing into the base. But the big question here is, will the blue team try and finish it, or will they just go for Baron? Looks like they are pinging Baron, as Syndra does revive at this very moment. It is a 5,000 gold lead for the blue team, as they are only up 1 kill and 3 towers. And that just came down to Syndra not being in the fight. If Syndra was there, she could have bursted Ezreal down. And if Ezreal's down, there just goes a lot of the damage for the blue team. They have a great front line, but they just don't have the damage that the red team does. That's the red team's strength. Nidalee will be trying to throw a spear in there, but there's no way she's going to be able to steal the Baron with a spear. But she does! Wow, that was a nice opening. That was impressive. I did not think that would actually get past the spiders, but apparently it did. Syndra might be going down here, as she does throw out the ultimate onto Nautilus, but she goes down in the process. So beautiful Baron steal there by Nidalee Spear from max range, right in between the spiders and champions. I didn't think there was a spot even in there to get that spear. That was an incredible spear. And this Nidalee has really kept her team in the game despite having a fairly low farm. And she has completed Death Cap. She will likely go for, I'm guessing, either Deathfire Grasp or an Anathan's Unholy Grail next, because she really just needs a bit more cooldown reduction in mana. And that really keeps the red team in this game for a little bit longer, as they evened up, as it's only a 3k gold lead now thanks to the big gold swing of Baron. And the fact that mid lane has been pushing really hard. Same with bottom and top. Looks like bottom top will be pushing out. And the blue team will have to go deal with those in a moment. And when they deal with those, the red team has to find a pick off. If they can pick off someone like Ezreal or Ahri, it's going to be a nice fight for them. Ahri has completed Deathfire Grasp. Runic Bulwark up on Nautilus, in addition to the Iron Solari Locket. Ezreal has completed his Quicksilver Sash. Leona grabbing a Giant's Belt and a Negatron Cloak to prevent some of that damage from spears. Looks like we do have Warwick completing that Frozen Heart and Aegis of the Legion. Graves has completed Bloodthirster, Last Whisper, and Phantom Dancer, in addition to likely going for a GA next. Lux completing the Zonya's Hourglass, Murillo Namicon, Death Cap, and Void Staff. Big spear in onto Ahri there. That really does hurt her. In fact, they don't have the Baron regeneration. It really hurts. Looks like Nidalee might be caught out here, but does wisely flash away. Lux ultimately goes across the entire team, and Warwick will be going down here, but he does tank their big damage dealers for a good while. But this is going to be a good game, as Nidalee was taken out here. And it looks like just the fact that they got caught out just a little too far means that this is an ace for the blue team, and they should be able to push down mid. They want to, or top. Both lanes have exposed inhibitors, though they might, yeah, they need to just finish the game. I don't think they're going to want another poke war, but they did the right thing. They hard engaged the fight. They didn't let Nidalee sit around and poke them for maybe more than 1 or 2 spears, and they absolutely stole that fight. The red team did not have anyone tanky enough to deal with that back line of this incredibly farmed Ezreal and Ahri. And that is a good game. Final score 41-34 in this 45-minute game. And that game down to the blue team didn't engage properly in the mid game and let the red team come back. You can't let someone like a Nidalee and Lux start fights or even just keep your team from fighting. You have to hard engage. The second they hard engage, they swept them real quick. But good plays by the Warwick and Nidalee, really keeping their team in this. Same thing with Lux. They had a very good chance of winning if they could just continue to push and kind of stall out fights. But in the end, they really couldn't. And the fact that Ezreal and Ahri were so incredibly far ahead meant that they could kill the really one-man front line of Warwick before anything really happened. And thanks to Leona and Nautilus, they really just stood their ground in those ending fights where the blue team really just took charge.
Thank you for watching Games Cast by PanderNyrl. If you wish to see more, follow my YouTube and Twitch pages below.